Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to my Let's Play of Elite Dangerous. This is the series that I like to call Endeavour. Now currently I'm playing on the PlayStation 4 version here, but the Let's Play won't be confined to that. In future episodes I'll probably play on PC as well as multiple accounts as well. The idea today then is to take a look around the Pleiades Sector and look for some listening outposts out here. There are quite a few of them apparently, but I haven't really taken the chance yet to really take a look to see where they lead. But first off, we've got to actually find one, and it doesn't seem there's one here, but they will only show up when you're within 1000 light seconds of them anyway. But I want to try and find one that's quite close to the central star, just to make it a little bit easier initially. So for the moment we're just going to jump around randomly and we'll see what we can find. If we don't find anything, then we'll go to one of the known areas and just simply go from there. And is there one in this system? Now the thing with Elite is that there's a whole bunch of things to actually find within the game, but the problem is that none of it is actually intuitive, at least not to the point so that you can just jump straight in and actually find something. Now I don't want to end up going back to a system I was actually in previous. Was I in that one or this one? Don't know, I wasn't keeping track. Probably doesn't help too much. But yeah, like I say, there's a whole bunch of things out here. There's the alien bases, various alien bases actually. There's a load of Thargoid ones. There's some ruins for the Guardians, and of course there's barnacles, which have now turned into what people are calling barnacle forests. Vast site of barnacles with absolutely dozens of barnacles there and spires, where the Thargoids occasionally turn up from time to time. And what we're looking for today are the listening outposts, as I said, or a listening post. Now the trouble is, you can't really find any of this without any outside game resources. There's no in-game way to find it. Sometimes you'll get some mentions on the Galnet articles. You can have a look there, and that will sometimes give you some hints on what to find. But as you can see, just simply going around randomly like this is not going to find you anything. More's the pity. Now, I have come across a few outposts by just simply flying around the Pleiades Sector, but I've never investigated them. And like a complete fool, I didn't bookmark those locations, unfortunately, so I can't go back to the ones I have found. And I don't know whether or not the ones I've found were the already known ones, but Pleiades is, although quite big, relatively limited in size. I would have thought by now all of it has been entirely explored, so yeah, any outpost or any listening post I would have come across, I'm sure would already be a known one. But you never know, going to make a few more jumps. So like I say, there's been a lot of puzzles in the game, more or less since day one. One of the most famous was the sounds emitted by by what was then known the unknown artifact, but which is now called the Thargoid sensor, as well as the unknown probe, now called the Thargoid probe. But again, they're puzzles that you need out of game resources in order to figure out, and even in order to locate really. The unknown artifacts, or the Thargoid sensors, you can actually pick up, but you have to go to planets usually to pick them up. Sometimes you find them free floating in space, but usually not. So yeah, it's a bit of a problem. You either have to rely on YouTube, which, if you watch YouTube, is a good thing. If you don't watch YouTube, is certainly not a good thing. So without doubt, there's a whole ton of people playing this game who don't visit forums, who don't visit Reddit, who don't use the internet, and who don't watch YouTube, and will be completely oblivious to what's going on. In fact, recently there was a rather great video released by Frontier showing off at the Thargoids. You may remember the one with the first encounter. There was a little wing of ships and they showed off the EMP blast along with the rest of it. Nice little cinematic. Frontier actually called it a cinematic rather than a trailer, and it progressed the story of what's going on within the game. But unfortunately you can only see that if you go to YouTube. I've got absolutely no idea why Frontier don't include that as an intro to the game, and that those videos could be updated simply every time something new happens, and that way every time someone logs into the game and plays the game, they will immediately be updated with what's going on, and those videos could of course give you locations to go and visit, and that way people would be well aware of what's going on in the game. Doesn't make sense to me really, because Obviously, Frontier have gone to all the effort to make those videos, and I would imagine they're not particularly easy to make, they're time consuming to make, and then all they do is leave them on YouTube. Simple download for everyone to see. They wouldn't be that large. It really would make a tremendous difference to the game. Anyway, we don't seem to be finding anything here, so if there's nothing here on this jump, then what I'm going to do is go to one of the known areas around here. And then I'll try and decrypt the puzzle to myself. They do normally have some sort of puzzle or some sort of little breadcrumb trail associated with these listening posts. And we'll have a look at it, try and figure it out, and work out where it leads us to. And yeah, unfortunately, nothing here. Should we have one more before we go? I said we'd go this time, but I'd really love to have found one myself, especially considering I found a few myself previously. There is one in the system Merope, or Merope, if you want to say it correctly. But I'd rather go to one that's a little outside the beaten path. But it involves a lot of jumps, a lot of travelling, like most things in Elite, unfortunately. Excuse me. Right, have we got anything this time? Probably not. One object discovered, it says. And no, so yeah. Unless I have bookmarked one here. I don't think I have, though. No, it's just the basic type of bookmarks you may expect. So we're going to the Pleiades Sector. And I'm on the PlayStation here, which is why I've got this. I've got this little virtual keyboard up. It means it takes a lot longer to type things in than I would otherwise like. Pleiades Sector. We go to the first one here on the list, and I'm getting this from the Elite Dangerous wiki. Do we want one of these? AB. Oh, not AB2. ABW. B2-4. So yeah, with controller, not the most intuitive import method. 3. The 3 probably references the planet number, but I'm going to enter it in just to be sure. Oh, I'm quite close to where I am anyway. 76 light years. So that should be about 2 or 3 jumps. I've got quite a good jump range on the Diamondback here. Where are we? 43 light years. So quite happy with that. I might try and push it a bit further. You can get these Diamondback Explorers to over 50 light years, but that does mean going without a few items, and I like to be well equipped in any vessel out here. I've got the hangar, and I've got a mining laser, and I've got a whole bunch of other bits and bobs. You never know what you need, and I don't want to have to head back to a station. In case you're not aware, the Pleiades Sector is becoming increasingly populated with stations. Aegis are putting a whole bunch of other stations out here. Many of them are going to have shipyards. In fact, there's one out here that does have a shipyard. I looked at it just the other day in a video I released the last week. So yeah, there's something that many people have been asking for. Shipyards out here. Right. So as you can see, I know there is, or there should be a listening post here, but it's not showing up on the navigation panel, so who knows, we may have thrown past a load of them in the previous systems. And the reason for that is, like I said right at the start, they will only show when you're within 1,000 light seconds of them. Now, Roy Batty found this particular planet. Good job to Roy Batty then. Yeah, so it's showing up that this is 700 light seconds, or nearly 800 light seconds away. But it's probably over 1,000 because it was on the other side of the planet, or maybe not actually. So why is the listening post not showing up? Curious. Unless there isn't one here. Which means we're going to need to jump to another system. So not going too well just yet. Spend a lot of time jumping around. But this really is a typical experience with Elite, and it's why I wanted to show it off in this particular video. How you go about finding breadcrumbs, how you go about finding story elements. It can be time consuming, it can take quite a while, and it involves a lot of repetitive gameplay. It's something that Frontier really need to figure out, I believe. So yeah, that was a non-human signal source, which means there would be Thargoids in there. That's not what we're after. Oh, of course, I'm in the wrong system. You probably realised that a whole bunch of time ago. It was 2 jumps, not 1. We want to get to this other planet here. That's why the listening post was not showing up, of course. So yeah, I can complain at Frontier for making things a little bit difficult, for making things a bit time consuming, but of course much of it is also down to the players. You need to make sure you're in the correct place, you need to make sure you're doing the correct thing. Right, so hopefully we're where we need to be now. And hopefully that audio is not clipping early on. Right, let's see if we got any listening post here. Hopefully we have. Right, so planet 3 again. This time the correct planet 3. And you can see that is over 1,000 light seconds away. Well, let's head towards it. When we get within 1,000 light seconds, we should be able to see the listening post just fine. And then we can follow along and see where it leads us to. Right, I'm going to slow down just a minute here and then we can see. Yep, and as I thought, as I said, there's a listening post. So what will happen is when we go to this, we'll drop into the instance where the listening post is, and it will give us a brief message. We'll just scan it and it'll give us a message, and the message will probably be in some sort of riddle or some sort of puzzle, which is essentially a breadcrumb leading us to the next stage. Or it may even take us directly to where we need to go, but we won't know until we're there. Right, so here we are then, coming up on the listening post. Let's see what we see. So all you need to do is just select it and the scan automatically begins. Going through some of the basics here because I'm sure not all of you will have actually tried this yet. And there you can see we've got a little message coming in the inbox at the top there. I want to get a bit of a closer look at this listening post. There you go. Let's have a bit look outside there. Yeah, so they're quite large actually, considering the size of the diamond back here. Right. So, listening post signal data. Transmission detected, gamma level encryption, VGS 080B. Signal match detected in Merope and a HIP 19072 system. Unable to process signal. Signal match detected 152.29. LYS language parameters exceeded. Signal blocked at source. Well, that doesn't help us much, does it? So it's telling us either to go to Merope or HIP 19072, and I think HIP 19072 was relevant early on in the game. I think it's where one of the first Thargoid encounters was, or one of the first Thargoid bases. I seem to recognise the system anyway. I was hoping to come across something new, but apparently that's not going to be. So anyway, we're going to go to this system just to follow through on this. Now there are, like I say, plenty of listening posts dotted throughout the game, so if it's something that interests you, do go out and have a look, because you never know what you're going to find. 19072. So a few jumps away this time. But we're going to jump there and have a look. Might as well follow this through to the end, even though we might already know what's at the end of that path. Right, so here we are in HIP 19072. I haven't been here before in the PlayStation 4 version. I'm pretty sure I've been here though on the PC version of the game. And as you saw, there is an outpost here. But the question is, what is the next step? So let's have a look at that message again. Signal detected in Merope and HIP 19072 systems. Unable to process signal. Signal match detected. 152.29 light years. Language parameters exceeded. I assume that means light years, LYS. So nothing obvious here just yet. We'll have a bit of a look around. See if we can find another listening post here. If not, we'll head on to Merope and then back here again if necessary. So like I say, I'm not going to rely on any out-of-game resources here, and I've not done this directly myself before. And the last time I looked, it was quite a few months back, so that's if it was indeed this same one. Like I say, everything is just so vague, it really doesn't give you any indication as to what you do. Anyone who doesn't know what the listening posts are for, again, if they haven't been to forums, if they haven't been to any internet resource, then they might come across these listening posts and get that message and just think it's just something completely random that has no meaning to it. After all, why would you think it has any meaning? Although it does mention some system names. Just flying around here just to see if any of these places have listening posts. Right, there's another listening post. So we're going to go towards this one. And that didn't have... There's no real reason for me to actually fly towards that planet. It was just the first one on the nav panel that was beyond 1,000 light seconds. So I went to that one, and I was then going to go to the next ones in order. So it turns out that this was the correct one, or at least hopefully. This one should be the next stage on the breadcrumb trail. On the rather vague breadcrumb trail. So we might need to go to Merope as well to get a bit of information from there. You might find that there's half the puzzle here and half the other puzzle over in Merope. We'll see what we get when we're here at any rate. And we're nearly there. So yeah, I'm not saying these puzzles are a bad thing by any means. They're a great curiosity and they're a great addition to the game. It's just that there's no way to find the initial outpost other than, or the initial listening post, other than just randomly coming across it. Plenty of people flying around, NPCs. Might get interdicted in a moment. You never know. What have we got here? An Earth-like world? Or water world? Looks like an Earth-like. The day we land at them is a long way off, I would imagine. Bit of a shame. I'd imagine they'd be quite nice to fly over. But nonetheless, we're nearly here. I'd actually be curious to hear how many people who play on the PlayStation 4 version of the game are still actually playing. Love to hear from you in the comments section if you play on the PlayStation version. I know there's quite a few of you out there. Right. What have we got this time? Quick scan. Come on. Right, let's have a look at what the message says. Right, transmission detected, gamma level encryption, the same number as before. Signal match detected in Merope and Pleiades Sector AB WB24, which is where we, oh no, B23 was where we were, wasn't it before? B243, yeah, that's the same system we were in previously. Unable to process signal, signal match detected 145.9 LYS, language parameters exceeded. So this is the exact same message as we got before, except it's referencing the previous system, the Pleiades Sector ABW, but it's also referencing Merope. So there's no good information here, and there's no good information on the previous one. All of them just tell us to go to Merope, so that's where we're going to go then. Well, let's go to Merope, Merope, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Merope, of course, is the correct pronunciation, as I mentioned earlier. And we're actually right nearby. Funny thing, because we started out on the Maya system. So here we are then in Merope. Maybe there's a signal source very close by, a listening post very close by rather. Of course the previous messages didn't give us an indication on where to head towards. And there's a lot of places to explore here, so I guess we'll just keep heading towards the planets that are over 1,000 light seconds away, because they are out of range of our scanners for seeing whether or not there's a post there. Of course, I might be missing something in the message that was left there. There may be something quite specific in the text that, if I could understand, would give me more specific information as to what I'm actually looking for here. Right, so nothing there. But I'm going on the assumption here that I'm not going to spend too much time trying to figure it out. And again, I'm not using any external resources to try and figure these things out. Nope. Trouble is, you could be flying around for absolutely ages here. We just know that there should be a listening post out here somewhere. What I'm going to do is put a cut in here, and I'll let you know when I find it. I'll also let you know how long it took me to find it. Okay, so it turned out it was the very next planet, the one I'd already selected. So it's only been a matter of 30 seconds or so here, but there has been a slight cut there. We're coming up on the listening post. Again, no clue as to what planet to look for. You just really need to just head towards each planet, because these listening posts seem to be orbiting nearby to planets. And this will be a way of perhaps finding undiscovered ones. You could head out to any system and just head towards any of the planets. Maybe you get lucky and maybe there'd be a listening post around one of them. Frontier have said quite a few times already that there are things undiscovered out here in the game, things people still haven't seen, some things which have been in the game for a very long time, and they've now started to put clues in the game, because after all, searching one planet, an entire surface of one planet, imagine trying to find a single building on a planet the size of Earth when all you've got is your eyeballs to try and find it by doing flyovers. It'd be almost impossible to actually find. So Frontier have started putting clues in the game, and that's what these listening posts really are all about. These two planets are orbiting, or two moons rather, orbiting very closely together. Kind of like ones like this, because when you land down on them, you can get spectacular views over to the horizon of the rising or setting moon over on the other side. Come on. Right, so hopefully this one gives us a bit more information rather than just referencing the other two listening posts, because if that's all it's going to do, then it's a bit circular. And it would mean we've wasted quite a bunch of time. Right, give us something a bit more significant. Signal match detected in Pleiades, yep, and HIP. Unable to process signal match detected. 11129 LYS. Language parameters exceeded. Well, yep, there we go. So at this point, I'm left trying to figure out how does this all work? What does it all mean? Again, I'm going on the premise that just a random player here, never really done any of this before, just trying to work out what these listening posts are all about. So at this point, my only option is to either really understand what this message is trying to say, I've been to all three systems, or to try and figure out what this other bit of text is. I assume this is the relevant part. Unable to process signal match detected, 11129 LYS, language parameters exceeded. So what does it mean? So at this point, there's not much I can do aside from using a website, and that's really what I didn't want to do. So we're going to do that right now. Right then, here we are on the website, and like I say, this is completely what I wanted to avoid doing. But what we're going to put in, let's put in rope, listening post. Yep, other people have already searched for that, of course. Listening post, Canon Research Group. Canon will probably have a good bunch of information for us, so let's have a look at that. Listening posts have been largely found in systems on the frontier of the bubble. Their origin is not known for sure, but it is possible that they are deployed by the Sirius Corporation. When a listening post is present in a system, it will appear on your navigation panel when your ship is within 1000 light seconds of it. Okay, we already know that. Triangulating the source. Target the listening post to allow your ship's scanner to download the data. You will receive it in your ship's messages panel. For the majority of listening posts, data always comes in groups of 3 identified by the same signal identifier. Yep, which is why we're getting the same bit of text at the top of each message. Each packet identifies the systems where the other 2 listening posts that receive the signal may be found. All 3 must be visited to receive the complete location data. Packet A contains the longitude coordinate of a signal. Planet B contains the latitude coordinate of the signal. Packet C, I think I might have said planet earlier. Packet C contains the body designation of the signal, e.g. AB1C. To identify the source system, each packet gives a minimum and maximum range from the listening post. The recommended approach is to bookmark the 3 systems containing the listening post and use the galaxy map to select potential systems. The 3 systems form a triangle in space, and the source of the signal is within that triangle. Rough estimation based on the ratios of the 3 ranges is good enough. Most of the time there is only one system with the correct range. Right, so let's jump back into the game and we'll try and follow that. Right then, so the idea is to bookmark these places. So let's book Merope first. Then we want the Pleiades one that we was at previously. Pleiades Sector ABW B24. Okay, I'm going to bookmark that, and next one is HIP 19072. Okay, and we're going to bookmark that. So these apparently should form a triangle of some type, or so the Canon website says. Right, so now we're looking for something that is 111 light seconds away from Merope here. Okay, we actually want to go up a bit, I would assume, from Merope. Let's try somewhere like that. Maybe this one. That's only let's go up a bit more then. 57. Oh dear, we could be going for ages here trying to find the exact system. So again, I could go the easy route and try and find the correct system by the by using the internet, and in fact I've probably even been there before, like I say, but I want to try and work this out. Right, unfortunately this is taking a little bit too long. The video's got on a very, very long time now, a lot longer than what I'm actually used to. So what I'm going to do is come back and pick this up in another video at another point. But really, the intent of this video was two things, or three things really. One, I like to do a Let's Play anyway, and a playthrough of the game, and I've been doing one for quite a while. The other is, I wanted to show that there is hidden content within the game. The third point is that finding that content is extremely obtuse, and you've really got to question who that sort of stuff is aimed for, because it's certainly not aimed at the average player. Now, the result of finding the ultimate destination of where all this breadcrumbs leads to may be for all players. We can all go out and look at it and be impressed with it or not impressed with it, depending on what we ultimately feel about it. But you know, it's the process of getting there that really is what gameplay is about. That's why we all play games after all, isn't it? To go through the process, to go through the experience. But yeah, who's the content aimed for? Regular players? Canon players? Who knows? But we'll try and find out when we come back in the next video if we can solve this easily. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.